Yo, what's going on, boys? Welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to our 2 times per week stream, where we stream every single Monday and Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, Fridays is set for our channel members only. Welcome back to the stream, fellas. There we go. Welcome back to the stream, boys. I wasn't even planning on streaming today, but I had a little bit of extra time earlier than what we normally stream. Obviously, it's not 8 right now, but decided to hop on stream, had a little bit of time. There's some things that have come out since we have spoken last that I wanted to talk about, but most importantly, just wanted to hop on a stream and talk to you fellas about the sport of MMA and go forward from there. So before I get into your boys' questions, I did want to show you a couple of different things. This is the first thing. This doesn't actually mean anything, but Carlos Prates does want to fight Islam Makhachev in New York for UFC 334. And if you guys were in the live stream yesterday, I did say I'm hopeful that Islam will return for the New York card. I'm hopeful that he'll fight Michael Morales at the New York card, but either way, if he does turn out to be on that New York card, would be pretty cool. And obviously, Prates wants to make a quicker turnaround. A turnaround sooner rather than later. He does want to fight in New York. I think it would make a lot of sense, to be honest, for both sides. But I want it to be Morales for New York as well. So I guess we shall see. And outside of that, I don't know how credible this guy is. I actually don't think he is very credible. But this guy is saying that Paddy Pimblett versus Ilia Topuria is going to be the main event. I honestly don't believe that much, just because I think that fight could happen, Ilia versus Paddy. I just don't know how they would place it on a card. It could be the main event, but obviously it's not going to be holding a belt or it's a BMF title or anything like that. So I don't know where they're going to place that sort of a fight. It's kind of an issue, I think, from the UFC's perspective. But it's possible, I guess, that it would be for that New York card. But yeah, let's get into your boys' questions. Fly, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Thought Juicy won't be streaming tonight, but here we are. Here we are, indeed. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to be streaming tonight either, but just had a little bit of extra time. Decided to hop on stream now, and yeah. A bit early to be streaming on a Monday. Yeah, a little bit earlier than normal for sure, but we make it work. Making sure everyone gets it right. Very good. Anyways, I'm wearing the thumbnail. Maybe close. It's my brand, brother. I'm gonna wear my brand. Yo, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. Hi, how are you? How are you? But outside of all of that, it is fight week for UFC Shanghai. The card itself is meh at best, to be honest. It's not very good. But the main event is interesting, I guess. Umar Nurmagomedov for Song Yadong, two high-level bantamweights. Now, if you were to ask me, I think Umar's going to win this fight pretty easily. Maybe he'll have some trouble early in round one. Maybe Song will be able to land some big shots early, maybe even drop Umar. I wouldn't be totally shocked. But once we get into rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, I think it's just going to be more or less Umar wrestling, finding takedowns, and controlling the back of Song, but not finding a submission or a finish. So I don't think it's going to be that competitive, to be honest. But hopefully Song wins. I think it'll be better for the division. But outside of that, I honestly don't see much. Sumadarji versus Alex Perez, the rematch. That could be somewhat fun, I guess, but nothing too exciting. Borjas versus Ray Suriua could be somewhat interesting. Sean Woodson versus Jack Jenkins probably will be fun, but isn't the highest level fight in the world. It's just not great. It's definitely not a card that I'm willing to wake up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., whatever it is, to watch. I'll probably watch the main card, and I'll probably watch the main event, but the rest of it is not very good, to be honest. Islam fighting so quick to deserve a champ these days. Fighting yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's no guarantee that he's going to make the return. I know Islam says he wants to make a quick return. Carlos Prates says he wants to fight Islam for MSG. I hope it does happen. Not Prates. I hope it's Morales. But either way, I hope Islam does make that quick turnaround, and I hope he does fight in New York. But I can't be too confident until the official announcement. Yo, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. How are you? Yo. Yeah, we'll see if any of those rumors are actually true about Ilia Topuria versus Paddy Pimblett, or even Carlos Prates versus Islam Makhachev. But yeah, definitely some interesting fights possible for that card. What else we got here? Thoughts on Volkanovski's next fight against Ivloev? I think he should be okay. I think stylistically it's a great fight for Volk. He's great at stuffing takedowns. He's great at scrambling once he does get taken down in the couple of occasions he does. And on the feet, I just think he's a lot better than Evloev. Evloev is slightly underrated, I think, in terms of his stand-up. He's not bad at all. He was able to have a lot of success against Lerone in the stand-up. But I think Volk's at another level. The speed, the athleticism, the technical ability, it's just at another level. I think he's going to be pinging the jab, pinging the calf kick to success, and eventually finding the decision victory. The only concern that I do have with Volk, though, is the fact that he is older at this point. We haven't seen him in a little bit. Not an egregious amount of time or anything like that, but it's been some time since we've seen him last, and you never know. Things can happen very, very quickly, or maybe Volk looks really good in his second fight versus Lopez, but then all of a sudden when he makes his return against Evloev, he can look terrible. It's definitely possible. I don't think super likely, but it's possible. John, what's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. If Islam versus Prates happen, you're going to watch it. You're going to watch it? Well, I'm going to watch it. Would I go to it, I guess you're saying? Dependent on how the rest of the card would be. That would determine on whether or not I go. But if it's Islam versus Prates main event, I honestly would be excited for it probably when they walk out or whatever. But I really think Islam's going to win that fight pretty easily. I think he just finds a takedown early and probably a submission within the first 2 or 3 rounds. So I wouldn't be as excited for that fight as I would be for a Morales fight against Islam. But if the rest of the card was still good, yeah, I probably would still go to that fight between Prates and Islam. Or if that was the main event, I should say. But watch it, yeah, I would watch, just about any fight. The only fight card that I would seriously consider not watching would be a fight involving Shevchenko, which we are getting for UFC 332, which really sucks. But hopefully the rest of the card is solid. We don't have a main event for 332 yet either. A lot of fans are kind of speculating that maybe that card's going to be really bad. I wouldn't be totally shocked considering the co-main event is already a wash. But hopeful that we will get something good. I know there's a lot of big fights that are still out there that have yet to be announced, like Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane, even Sean Strickland versus DDP, or Sean Strickland versus Imavov is yet to be announced. We'll see what happens with Islam. I know he probably wants to fight again this year. Gaethje's not going to fight this year. Volk's already booked. Jan's already booked. And Van's already booked. So we got a couple of decent fights that are still yet to be booked in terms of title fights. And in terms of like bigger fights, besides that, there also are some interesting ones as well. So definitely going to be a good end to the year, I think, for this year. The beginning of the year, middle of the year hasn't been amazing, but the end of the year is always great for the UFC. And I think we're going to see a similar thing once we get into November, December time, and even October. It seems like that card's really good as well. So it should be interesting. Should be pretty good for show. Yeah, what else we got? So next week we got the Paris card between the newcomer and Dan Hooker. I have to do a little bit more research on that fight. I definitely want to make a prediction video on that fight. I just have to do a little bit more research. I haven't seen that guy fight before, so I'll look into that, get that breakdown out for you boys on fight week. John, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Makhachev is my pick for the greatest fighter. If he fights Prates before the end, it would be so great. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think he's definitely one of the greatest fighters of all time. I personally don't think he's there yet. I think maybe he's a fight or two away. But he's definitely an all-time great fighter. You got to respect what he's been able to do. Be the champion and get multiple title defenses at 155. Now make the move up to 170. Easily beat JDM. And it was a competitive fight, but either way, he still was able to beat Ian Gary. Very, very impressive, to say the least. And listen, I hope he does fight again this year. I really do. As I said, Morales is the fight I prefer. But if it's Prates versus Islam, it is what it is. It still would be an interesting fight, and I think that's a very good fight for Islam. He probably wins that. Yeah, what's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. I don't know. I'm probably going to say GSP, but I don't know. Close one, though. Dan Hooker will kill him. All right, we'll see. I don't know. I don't know much about that guy. I know he's coming over from a very high-level MMA organization in KSW. A lot of those fighters turn out to be pretty good, like DDP, for example. So I would like to watch his tape a little bit, but it's possible. I don't know. I think Islam wants to fight again because they're currently taking pretty expensive. Yeah, he's got to get some more money to make it back, you think? Maybe. But, Yeah, I don't know. I mean, his mindset makes a lot of sense. He's like, listen, I'm only getting older at this point. I got to stay active. It makes sense, and 100% he should stay more active. I just am not going to be super confident that he will stay active until I actually see it. So hopefully we get an announcement sooner rather than later. It's an elite fighter. Anyone saying that wins? Yeah, I don't know. I got to do research. I don't really know. Then Hooker loses. Okay, okay. Yeah, boys. Leon Edwards versus Jorge Masvidal in the big 2026. Yeah, I don't think that should happen either. If it happens, I guess whatever, it is what it is. But I can't say it's a fight that I would be super excited about. Jorge Masvidal hasn't fought for forever. He's retired for a little while. I don't really have much interest in seeing that fight. And for Leon Edwards, like, yeah, he's been more active, but he's also on the decline as well, it seems. So I don't really know. Because that sort of a fight, I don't know where you would place it on a main card of a pay-per-view, or do you put it on the prelims? Probably would be the main card of a pay-per-view. They are big names, especially Masvidal. Not really Leon, but Masvidal is a big name. So I don't know. It's just, but I don't really care about that fight personally. If the UFC did it one more, what would they make? Yeah, I kind of tend to agree with you, Fly. Like, I think the fact that Morales was given that opportunity to be the backup and he actually did it puts himself in the good graces of the UFC. And based upon history, a lot of times when fighters weigh in as the backup fighter, they get rewarded with the next title shot, especially a fighter like Morales who arguably like does deserve the next shot on top of the fact that he was the backup fighter. So I think he's in a good spot to get the next shot. I know Islam wants Prates, and obviously Prates wants the shot. Prates is also more a popular fighter than Morales, so we'll see. But I think Morales is in a solid spot to get it. If Volk wins, it only makes Makhachev's legacy greater. Yeah, that's true. It does. It does. Also makes Volk's legacy greater as well. I mean, what Volk was able to do is actually insane as well. I know he lost to Ilia. I know he lost to Islam twice. But still, very, very impressive resume. What he was able to do, multiple title defenses, just dominating Max Holloway, especially in the third fight. But the two fights previous, he also won. Very impressive career. I hope he wins, and I hope he retires after that. I just don't think things are going to get much better for Volk. I think stylistically, as I said, the Evloya fight's good for him. But if he does win that, I think he should just retire. The fights that are upcoming are just not good stylistically for him, like a Jean Silva, for example, or like some other guys. And I think it'll be best if he retires. Sage versus Rosenstrike. I'll go with Rosenstrike. He's slightly bigger than Sage, so I'll go with him. You put Edwards versus Masvidal before the early. Yeah, maybe they'll have a part 2 backstage. I guess you could do that. People are gassing Morales, but when he loses, they will call him a bum. Never-ending cycle. I don't know. Maybe some people will say that. I've been saying forever. Like, you can go to my channel. I made a video over a year ago saying that Morales is legit. And Morales is going to beat Islam. I truly believe he's going to beat Islam. And I've been saying that forever. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And you guys can clip this. I'm wrong. It is what it is. And I'll admit that I'm wrong. But I honestly think Morales is going to beat Islam. I think the size is going to be such a big issue for Islam, alongside with other factors like the striking, like the power, like the reach, like the distance management that Morales has. His takedown defense is also quite good. His ability to get back to his feet is also quite good. And Islam did struggle a little bit with Ian Gary in terms of the size, reach, strength, etc. So if you struggle with Ian, I think he's going to really struggle with Morales. And the difference is, if Morales lands clean, I think the fight's going to be over. So we'll see. Could be wrong for sure, but that's the fight I want to see next really badly. Because for the Prates fight, I definitely think Islam wins that fight. Prates has not shown a great ability to stuff takedowns, and he'll probably find an early takedown against Prates and find the submission on the ground. Yo, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Thanks so much for joining the stream. I appreciate it. If you could choose one type of food, what would it be? Savory or sweets? What, forever for the rest of my life? I don't know. That's tough. I guess savory, I guess. I don't know. That's probably what I would say. I want Makhachev to put Morales in the side control and dominate Empress. The Morales goes very cold. Well, I can guarantee that's not going to happen. He may be able to find a takedown and he may be able to control Morales on the ground, but he's not going to go out with Islam's hammer fist. I mean, Islam hasn't been able to finish really anybody as of late. So I do not think he'll be able to finish Morales, at least with ground and pound strikes. With a submission, it's possible. It definitely is possible. But with ground and pound strikes, I don't think so. Islam's end, he should fight Prates. On Islam's end, he should fight Prates. What, from his perspective? Yeah, I do think the Prates fight's a much better stylistic fight for him. So, yeah, I'm sure he would prefer to fight Prates, and he actually said that after the fight where he was able to beat Ian Gary. But I think Morales makes more sense, and I think it's a more interesting fight as well. You have a rich guy laugh. Thank you, I guess. I'm not rich, but I appreciate it. Contender is tomorrow. Yeah, the contender is tomorrow. Frank Mir's daughter is fighting on the contender series tomorrow. I did see that she missed weight, but I don't think it was that egregious. I think she still is fighting on the card, so definitely interested to see how that goes. A lot of hype around her, and I know the women's weight classes are not very good. I would actually say they're terrible. A lot of the champions we have at women's weight classes are just really bad. Like Dern's not a very good fighter. Shevchenko is solid, I guess, but she's so boring. And Kayla Harrison is definitely the most fun fighter in women's MMA, maybe behind a girl like Wei Li, but it's just not great. So hopefully we can get a good and exciting fighter in Frank Mir's daughter. Prates again the influence and until very good. Choose performance. There you go. YouTube losses. I don't know how you lose on YouTube, but there you go. You cannot put women's MMA in an interesting. Well, you're right. You're definitely right, Fly. I don't think it possibly could be entertaining or interesting, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that maybe we can see something there. Maybe some decent striking, maybe some good power, maybe some good wrestling, whatever it may be. Hopefully there's something there, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I haven't really seen a fun women's MMA fight in I don't know how long, especially at the highest levels. It's just so boring. I talk about this all the time, but Shevchenko's the most boring fighter of all time. Especially over the last 5 fights. It's just so bad. Can't really watch it. But I don't know. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? But hopefully we get some higher-level men's MMA fights getting booked for the rest of the year. Some fights that I would like to see, as I said before, Tom vs. Gane makes sense. I would honestly do Strickland versus DDP. I know a lot of people don't agree with that, but that's what I would do. Then I would do Islam versus Morales. Then I would do Gaethje versus the winner, I guess, of Arman and Houfi. Then I would do Topuria versus Paddy. That's another fight that makes sense. I would have Jean Silva, if he wins, which I think he will, fight the winner of Volk and of Loyev. Then at bantamweight, I would have Petr Yan versus Merab's already booked, and I probably would have Umar fight the winner of that fight, even though it's not going to be a fun one. Umar's a boring fighter, but I would do that fight. And then for flyweight, I think Manel Kape deserves the next shot. So he should get the winner of Van versus Pantoja, regardless of if he fights again or he doesn't. I think he arguably deserved it even over Pantoja. He didn't get the opportunity, but now I do think he should get the opportunity to fight the winner. So those are some fights that I probably would book. There's others that I'm probably missing, but off the top of my head, that's what I would do. But watching that type of money. There you go. I want Yuri versus Hamzat. That's a fight that was actually probably supposed to happen at one point in time, but after Strickland was able to beat Fluffy, plans changed, and then we got Strickland versus Hamzat. But yeah, that definitely is a fight that could make sense. I personally prefer to see Hamzat versus Paulo Costa. Listen, I think Hamzat wins that fight. I don't know if it's that competitive either, to be honest, but I would prefer to see that fight. There is the beef there. That fight was scheduled at one point in time, and I would like to see it at light heavyweight. Paulo Costa looked really good in his fight at light heavyweight. Why not have Hamzat move up, fight him, and if Hamzat wins, give him a title shot after that. I think it would be warranted, so I would prefer to see that one. Yo, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Wish Volk move up after his victory against Movistar and try one time to get the upset. I mean, ideally, I guess that would be pretty cool. And maybe if it was up against Justin Gaethje, you would have a decent chance to win that fight. But as I said before, I think for Volk, things are only going to get worse as time progresses. He's only getting older. He only is going to lose speed. He's only going to lose athleticism. So because of that, if it were up to me, hopefully he wins this fight. I think he will. And if he does beat Evloev, I think he should just retire. It's a great legacy. There's not really much more that he wasn't able to accomplish. I guess, yeah, becoming a double champ would be something he was never able to accomplish if he does retire after this fight. But I don't know. I wouldn't risk it. I wouldn't risk getting knocked out again or losing again or whatever. So that's what I would do. But it's up to Volk. I know he did say if he loses this fight, he will retire. He didn't say anything about if he wins the fight, he'll retire. So I guess we have to wait and see. But, yeah. Pereira versus Hokit, yeah, dude, that's actually a big one. Yeah, I forgot about that one. But Pereira versus Hokit absolutely is another fight that I would like to see at the heavyweight division. And if Hokit wins that fight against Pereira, which I think he would, he absolutely deserves a title shot next after that. Which is kind of crazy to think about, considering where he was just a few months ago before the Curtis Blades fight. But yeah, he definitely would deserve a title shot if he beats Alex. And yeah, there's probably others I'm forgetting, but those are the big ones I think I would like to see at a lot of the weight classes. I realized if I with Brian, but since he moved down, it's been nothing but snoozers. Yeah, honestly, it's not been very fun ever since he moved down. And on top of that, I would not say his performances have been great. I would say his first performance at bantamweight was honestly not very good against Nurmagomedov. I thought he could have performed better and found the finish there, but he did not look great to me. And then his most recent performance, it also kind of was a snoozer where he just found takedowns, controlled his opponent. I'm kind of even forgetting who he was up against, but I remember how the fight played out. It was at the Apex, and it was just takedowns, control, threatening a couple submissions here and there, but for the most part, it wasn't much. So I do kind of agree Bryce Mitchell has not been that much of a fun fighter at bantamweight, and I think a big reason for why that is, listen, he's never been the most fun fighter in the world, for one, but also for two, at the bantamweight division, fighters are just a lot faster than he is, and because of that, he's kind of outgunned in a lot of different fights on the feet, so he has to go to his wrestling earlier and more often, and it kind of turns out to be these sort of performances where he's also not able to find finishes on the ground, unfortunately. If Alex beats Hokit and Tom, do we see Tom versus Pereira? Traditionally, I think it probably would not make sense, but because Alex is such a big star, I think probably, yeah. If Alex wins against Hokit, if that indeed is the next fight, I think there's a good chance that we could see that fight next between Pereira and Tom Aspinall. Definitely could see it. Now, we'll say if Gane beats Tom and Pereira beats Hokit, I don't know if we see that rematch. It's possible because it's Alex, who's a big star. Maybe the UFC will just do it anyway. Sometimes they do that. With big stars, they just do whatever, even if it doesn't make sense. But definitely if Tom wins that fight and Alex wins his fight, yeah, that fight probably will be next. I don't actually like Hokit's chances against Alex. I mean, listen, the longer the fight stays on the feet, the worse it'll get for sure for Hokit. But I don't know if Alex is going to be able to stuff all those takedown attempts. And even on the feet, in occasions, if Hokit does mix it up with takedowns into striking and striking into takedowns, I do think there's a chance he could land some big shots. He's going to be a lot faster than Alex, like a lot faster than Alex. So I wouldn't be surprised if he lands a couple big shots, maybe a left hook into a right hand, an uppercut, or whatever. So I personally think he would win. I think he'll be the favorite. I honestly think if I were to line that fight, I probably would have it as Hokit maybe minus 170, something like that. That's how I would have it. But listen, if he can't find a takedown, yeah, he probably is in trouble. But I think him mixing it up will give Alex some issues. Owen, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. How are you? He's just so open on the feet to everything. Yeah, he is open. You're not wrong about that. He definitely is open, and that's kind of why I said the longer the fight stays on the feet, the worse it'll get for Hokit. But if he's able to kind of fight on the feet in short spurts while just maybe throwing a couple big shots on the feet, he's faster than Alex, probably lands first, and then shoot in for a takedown under that, I think he can find takedowns, and from there I think he'll have a lot of success. But if he can't find a takedown and he's forced to stay on the feet against Alex, yeah, I do think he probably could have some trouble for sure. Yo, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Big up, man. What's going on, brother? How are you? GSP. I think I'd pick Pereira to beat Hokit. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Definitely could happen. But I'm personally siding with Hokit at this point. It's only 19 minutes. God damn it. Okay. Fucking hell, man. Alrighty. That's a new one. But yeah, are you doing the Dana White contender stream tomorrow? Yeah, yeah. I am doing the contender stream tomorrow at normal time. It'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So be on the lookout for that one. Today, I didn't even think I was going to stream, but had a little bit of extra time, so decided to hop on stream for you boys. Talk about a little UFC and whatnot. I'd hate that stream to end with Hokit. I guess. Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. That definitely wouldn't be ideal for Alex and his fan base. I like Alex as well. I wouldn't be mad if he won the fight. I would be really happy, actually, if he were to beat Hokit and if he were to beat Tom Aspinall or were to beat Cyril Gane and become the champ at heavyweight. I'd be happy for it. But I just don't think it's very likely that we see something like that. Got his unique matchup where Pereira literally cannot impose his game. Yeah, it's just a speed. And that's... Listen, it's not the same. Gane's a way better striker compared to Hokit. It's not remotely close. But I think a big thing that Alex struggled with in the Gane fight is the speed. Yeah, he's technical on top of that, which made matters even worse for Alex. But basically, Alex wasn't able to see a lot of the shots coming his way because Gane was throwing so fast. And in general, whenever they would exchange, Gane would land first because he's so much faster. I think we could see a similar thing in the Hokit fight, maybe not to the same level, but he's a lot faster than Alex. So maybe he throws a couple of punches in combination, lands a couple shots, shoots in for a takedown under that, finds it because it was set up by the strikes, and he goes forward from there. Hokit is slow. Pereira does have a clean path to victory. Hokit is slow? That's a new one. Hokit is probably the second fastest guy at heavyweight behind Cyril Gane. I guess you're joking, but Hokit is not slow. Max said he was only waiting to find a Connor or a shot to... I guess. He definitely is not going to fight for the title after that sort of a performance. Could he get another Connor fight? I guess. But he's going to have to wait quite a while until that does end up happening. So, I don't know. Yeah, what's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. In a weird way, maybe Hokit beats Aspinall. Yeah, it's possible. I've always thought that Jailton Almeida would be a tough stylistic matchup for Tom Aspinall. I know that sounds ridiculous. I know he's not in the UFC anymore, and he just couldn't land any damage for whatever reason. But his wrestling was kind of freakish, and I think the way to beat a guy like Tom Aspinall is to offensively wrestle, and I thought a guy like Almeida could do that. Now, unfortunately, he kind of proved that once he gets that takedown, he's not going to be able to do anything with it, so probably he would have lost to Tom Aspinall because of that. But maybe a similar thing could be said for Hokit. He does have pretty good wrestling, and maybe he could find some offensive takedowns against Tom and maybe find a victory there. I wouldn't bet on it. I think Tom would win that fight, but it is possible. Maybe stylistically it's a weird one for Tom. How is Hokit slow? I don't know. He is definitely correct to Tom and Gane. Brother, watch the guy fight. He's definitely the second fastest guy at the weight class. Tom's really fast as well. I don't want to take that away from him, but Josh Hokit is an incredible athlete. He's very, very fast. Just very, very fast. Just look at his fight versus Curtis Blades. Look at the combinations he was throwing. Even in his fight versus Derek Lewis, I don't know if he was throwing those same fast Well, he was, actually. He definitely was. He was throwing those same fast combinations in the Derek Lewis fight, but it looked a little bit faster than maybe he actually was because Derek Lewis was that slow. But Hokit absolutely is very fast. Max is crashing out. Yeah, he definitely is. If Song can get Umar and of the title picture, I'd be... Honestly, yeah, I agree. I think if Umar loses his fight to Song, it'll be great for the sport of MMA, and especially for the weight class. There's more interesting fights with Song possibly getting a title shot as compared to Umar. Not saying that Song's going to get a title shot after beating Umar. He may, but I don't know necessarily if that'll be true. But it'll be a good thing to get Umar out of title contention. Not because he's a bad fighter. He's a very good fighter. He's just very boring, in my opinion. I wanted to see Aspinall versus Jailton so bad. I actually agree. I really agree. I think that fight would have been really fun. It's just the problem with Jailton Almeida is I think he would find takedowns. He's a freak athlete, really good wrestler. He just has not proven that he can do any damage once he gets there. He has this mental block, whatever it is, I don't know, but he just can't land any damage. He gets in position to land ground and pound shots and just refuses to throw anything. He's done it in so many fights, and that's why he got cut from the UFC. IDKY Gelatin stopped being aggressive. I think it's honestly just a mental block. I can't, describe it in any other way. I just don't know. I have the same thoughts about Gelatin, but unfortunately not a real fighter. Yeah, that's kind of his biggest issue. He's talented, great wrestler, also has insane, freakish athleticism and strength. Just can't throw. I don't know. People run around and pick Lewis to beat Hokit. Yeah, I don't know. I think people just thought that Hokit would strike against Derek Lewis and maybe he would get caught. He is a little bit open. That's probably what people thought, but I thought that was a bit ridiculous. Hokit's a lot faster than Lewis on the feet, obviously for one, but also for two. It's just the wrestling is going to be there, and we saw how that played out. Derek Lewis was even more washed than maybe people thought he was or he would be, and it just wasn't close. It's kind of a funny pick in retrospect. Volter is our new hope. We'll see. I kind of think Volter Walker is... I think he's solid. I definitely think he is going to be a guy maybe in the top 6, top 7 at heavyweight because heavyweight's that bad. But I don't kind of think he's going to be at the elite level. I think he's kind of a one-trick pony with these heel hooks and the submission he got in his last fight. So I think he could beat a lot of blobs, but I don't think he's going to beat a guy like Cyril Gahn or Tom Aspinall or Pereira, etc., or Hokit even, etc. We want Jan versus O'Malley too. I do as well. And yeah, I guess if Umar lost that fight to Song, probably they do that fight actually. Piotr Jan versus Sean O'Malley. I think that fight actually kind of makes sense at that point. So yeah, that'll be the path. People forgot, man. People forget, man. Shafkat, you're right. They do forget. But I'll never forget Shafkat. I actually just put together a video on the sad story of Shafkat Rachmanov. It really does suck. I hope he does return sooner rather than later. As I said, I personally think he's going to return maybe early 2027. Hopefully. We'll see what happens. But I want to see that guy succeed, man. He's gone through so much in terms of his personal life, in terms of the injuries. It's actually insane. So hopefully he returns better than ever. Shelton's fighter career in September. Okay. All right, we'll see how he looks. And yeah, I've heard of ACA before. We'll see how he looks, but I highly doubt the UFC is ever going to re-sign that guy unless he's just looking like really good, taking guys down and finishing them on the ground. He has to prove that he can actually land strikes. And if he can do that, once he finds his takedowns and he finishes a lot of guys in a row, maybe goes on a 3-4 fight win streak, maybe 5, then I think the UFC may consider re-signing him. But until then, I just don't think it's super likely, even if he has a great performance in September. Shafkat would have beat the brakes off Bilal. Honestly, yeah, I agree. I don't think that fight would have been remotely close, and I think that's the real sad part about Shafkat's career. I think maybe with about an 80 to 90% certainty, Shafkat would have beaten Bilal Muhammad. His takedown defense is great. His wrestling in general is great. And on the feet, it's just not close. So that's the saddest part. He would have become a champion in that fight versus Bilal. But now you never know. Is it still possible Shafkat can get a title shot and become the champ again? Of course. Of course it is. The fight between him and Islam would be interesting if Shafkat's at 100%. But the problem is Shafkat at this point, or whenever he does return, would have been out for so long. So you wonder, will he have ring rust when he does return? Maybe because of that he loses his fight whenever he does return. And his career, could go on a really bad path. You never know when you're dealing with injuries and when you're out for extended periods of time. Anything could happen. But yeah, he would have beat Bilal, I think. I wanted to watch Hogan's to see how fast he is. Saw Herb Dean ref. There you go. Petrino beat the crap out of Walker, out of Volter. Maybe. I'm not too high in Petrino, to be honest. But maybe. He's athletic, and I think he gave what's-his-face trouble because of that athleticism. In his last fight, he gave Spivak trouble. And I was disappointed in the way Spivak fought in that fight against Petrino. But good performance for Petrino for sure. I'm just not necessarily sold on him still. So maybe he could beat Volter. I'm not really that high in Volter either. But if it goes to the ground, I absolutely think Petrino's one of those guys to get caught in a heel hook. He's just dumb, it seems. He doesn't have high fight IQ. So we'll see. But if he can keep on the feet, yeah, he'll win. I'm so convinced of who he's on Arwen, they're going to make Max versus Gaethje too. Maybe. Well, honestly, I disagree. I think if Hoofy beats Armin, I think they're gonna do Hoofy versus Gaethje. I think Hoofy's the type of guy, like a dream type of fighter for the UFC. For one, if he wins, they would get rid of the Armin problem. I don't think it is an Armin problem, but obviously the UFC hates him, so they would get rid of the Armin problem. But also for two, Hoofy is a very easy guy to turn into a star just based upon the way he fights. So if he beats Armin, that's a huge win for him. But also he's gonna get a title shot after that, I think. In terms of Gaethje versus Max too, like, I don't know, maybe there are some people that want that fight. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight again, I guess, but I don't think it's a fight that people are necessarily clamoring for in large numbers. People forget, man, but they never forget. It's true. They don't forget the women. I can see the UFC trying to sign Jalton if he joins MVP. Maybe that'll help him out. A lot of times, whoever MVP signs, they just eventually sign with the UFC. Seems like Usman or Magomedov is going to do that as well. So we shall see. I think JDM probably would have TKO'd Shavkat, though, especially if Shavkat finally did against Chef Neal. You know, I've been saying that for a while, Owen. I actually agree with you. I think stylistically, JDM's quite a difficult matchup for Shavkat. I never thought Shavkat's takedowns were that elite. I think once he gets to the ground, he's elite, but his actual takedowns were not great. He struggled with a lot of different fighters getting the fight to the ground. Now, eventually, he got it to the ground against Wonderboy, but he struggled in that fight, and there's been other examples of that. So, if the fight was held on the feet, Shavkat's good, really, really good, great offensive weapons, but he does leave his chin on center line. He does leave his chin in the air a little bit, and he's very hittable. So I think a guy like JDM would be a perfect matchup to land clean on some counters against Shavkat and possibly find the finish. So I do tend to agree, actually. But I hope we don't see that fight whenever Shavkat returns. It's possible, I guess, but I would prefer a different one. If you got to choose one shot for MMA, B, would it be left hook shot? You could take nipple or that's a tough one. I guess. I mean, they always say the liver shot just shuts your body down, which will not be fun. I'll say a left hook clean to the face, I guess. Ideal outcome: Song beats Umar. If Yanton wins, makes O'Malley versus 2. If Merab wins, make Merab versus Song. And O'Malley. Yeah, I think both of those make sense, actually. Yeah, that would be an ideal outcome. Will it happen? I personally don't think so. I think Umar's going to win, but that would be ideal. Man, if Oliveira wins against Lopez, he becomes a #1 contender. That's true. That's true. He probably does, I guess, considering, or we'll see what happens with Armin and Ilia and whatever. But, yeah, probably. If he wins against Lopez, he probably would deserve a title shot in his next one. But we'll see if that's official. It seems like it's going to happen, but it's not technically official yet. I just think they've got Max close to the mainstream, cut off the McGregor promo without an actual fight happen. Yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from. Obviously, the gate was huge for that McGregor card, and everybody and anybody that fights Conor is obviously going to grow in star power. But I think people already know who Max is. Maybe he grew even further from the McGregor fight, but from the majority of the fan base, I think they already know who he is, and the issue that I think is Max is not necessarily young at this point. He's not in the prime of his career. So if you did do Gaethje versus Max, and let's say Max won that fight, I don't know how much that would really do for the UFC. I don't know how many fights he would have left in the UFC, for one. But also for two, if Hoofy wins that fight, like, there's a real star potential in Mauricio Hoofy. I think he could also beat Gaethje. I think he honestly would beat Gaethje. So I think they take that and they run with it if he wins that fight. Yo, what's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. Look at this juicy guy. Yes, sir. We are here. One guy in the jury. Well, yeah, from that side of the world, they do look a little bit Asian. Song's a nightmare matchup for Merab. I don't know if I agree with that either, to be honest. I'm not super high on Song. I think he's got good weapons, especially early. And in round one, I think Song maybe can land big shots against Merab. Maybe he can find a finish even. Maybe he can even drop him. But I think if we get to rounds 2 through 5, I think Merab kind of just starts to pick apart. No, not pick apart. I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it. But I think he just kind of ramps it up, finds takedowns, and eventually gasses Song out and probably wins the decision. Umar taking 26. It's kind of insane, right? It is kind of insane that he took him to a decision. But in fairness, he takes literally everybody to a decision. So I don't know how much that's even really saying at a point. He's great at finding the takedown, getting the back, but he does nothing with it. He really does nothing with it, and it's very frustrating. And yeah, he's a boring fighter. What can you say? There's going to be a lot of people that say, "Oh, Umar's really good. How can he be boring? It's impressive to see what he's doing," but it's not. Well, it's impressive, I guess, but it's not fun to watch. He's definitely a boring fighter. Even if Connor didn't blow us down, Max was going to drag him to deep water and do the whole Connor dirty. I guess so. I would have liked to have seen what would have happened, but yeah, the longer the fight went, for sure, the better it would have gotten for Max. That is true. Murad beating Umar was like one of the best parts of 2025 for me. Yeah, honestly, me as well. I was very, very happy to see Murad win that fight. I was on Murad the entire week or for a while. I thought he was going to win that fight. And seeing him as like a plus 250 underdog or plus 200, whatever it was, well, I thought was crazy at the time. Even if Umar was going to win that fight, I always thought it was going to be a very close one. And that's kind of what I talk about a lot on this channel. I talk about the fact that a lot of these Dagestanis kind of get like betting privilege, and what I mean by that is they're always bigger favorites than they should be. Not saying that, you know, they should be the underdog. Like in that fight against Merab, I don't know if Umar necessarily should have been the underdog, but I think the line should have been a lot closer. And the same thing could have been said for Islam against Ian Gary. I don't think Ian Gary should have been the favorite, but the line absolutely should have been closer. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, that's something we see a lot with these Dagestanis. They're just way bigger favorites than they otherwise should be. Probably not that reputable. But yeah, I did hear that about Masvidal versus Leon. Me personally, I don't have much interest at all in seeing that fight. But it's possible. I guess we see it. It's probably going to be on the main card of some fight, maybe as a co-main event, possibly because Jorge Masvidal has a big name. But I don't know. Masvidal has been retired for a little bit at this point, and even before he retired, he didn't look very good. And as for Leon, like, he's not a star. There's nothing really the UFC is going to build off of Leon's career, and also he is on top of that on the decline. So I don't really have much interest in that sort of a fight. If you had to bring Masvidal back, I think you match him up against a younger fighter where you can build their name off of Masvidal's legacy and popularity. I don't think the Leon fight's that interesting to me. But I know Jorge did talk about making a return, and he did say he wanted to fight Leon, so it's possible. I just not that interested. That's the thing. Change the running lines. Umar 1600 against Figgy. Now much 550 against Song. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It definitely is pretty crazy that he's that big of a favorite against basically everybody. I think he could fight literally anybody. I think he could fight Petr Yan, and he would be a favorite. I think that line would be closer because I would assume people would realize that Petr Yan's a terrible fight for Umar. Like, I think he's the worst fight for Umar in the division. So I would assume that line would be a bit closer. But in reality, if that fight ever happened, Petr Yan should be like a minus 180, minus 200 possibly. And I think the actual line would probably be Umar minus 140. That would be my prediction. It's possible that that's the fight that we get next for both guys, and I guess I'll see. But Yan, I think, would destroy Umar. That's a really, really bad fight for him. What's one fight? Which one's the distance? You're sure not one. See the scorecards. I don't know. I was not sure who won. I don't know. I would have to think about that a little bit more. I would have to take a look at some of the recent fight cards and fights. Honestly, I don't know. Let me know what one that you think, and I'll tell you if I agree. You don't have interest in watching. Yeah, not really. I don't have much of interest in watching that fight, and that's kind of something that the MMA community kind of tries to hype up to me a lot, and I just don't really care that much. Like, they were trying to hype up Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz. I don't have much interest at all in seeing that fight. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but that's not really a fight that I care about anymore. At one point in time, yeah, Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor, part 3, could have been really cool, but at this point, I just don't really care. I don't know. I want to see the best in the world fight the best in the world. That's what I'm interested in. That's what the UFC says they're here to do, but unfortunately, they don't do it as often or as frequently as they probably should. And we get more of these examples of like a Conor versus Max, which, you know, I don't know. Who really cares? That's not a fight that probably should have been booked. I prefer to see an actual high-level fight at the top of a pay-per-view card. But, you know, they're going to do whatever they want. For me, it was Usman. Yeah, that was close, man. Usman versus DDP. That was definitely one where I wasn't too sure who was going to win that fight. I thought Usman maybe was able to kind of squeak out a decision in the end, but they gave it to DDP. Great win for him, but it was close, man. Hard fought battle for sure. Jan would beat the crap out of Umar Holy. Yeah, he definitely would. He definitely would. I think stylistically, it's just a terrible fight because how Umar has a lot of success is he finds a takedown, gets the back, and holds on to it. Jan actually has incredible wrestling, so I think he could somewhat neutralize that for one, but also for two, I think the striking won't be close. A lot of the time, Umar needs to rely on his striking before shooting in for a reactive takedown. And if he's forced to stay in the feet for any point in time against Jan, I just don't think it's going to go very well. And on top of that, Umar tends to get caught. He got caught with a knee against Batista. He got caught by that other guy, I'm forgetting his name, with an overhand right. He tends to get caught with some big shots. So if he gets caught against those guys, I absolutely think Jan's going to find openings to find finishes. Umar relies a little bit too much on his head movement, which does lead him to get caught and put himself in bad situations. I just don't think that fight would be very close, to be honest. And especially considering the fact that Umar doesn't seem to have the best cardio in the world. Not bad, but not the best cardio in the world. If Jan pushes a pace like what he did against Sean O'Malley, goes forward and pushes that sort of a pace, I think Umar will start to fold and will start to gas out by the later rounds of that fight, making it even easier for Jan to win and maybe even find a finish. That was like a concert. I didn't want to care. That was really a card. Yeah, the rest of the card was definitely great. And listen, I don't want to lie. When Conor was walking out, I definitely was slightly excited for it. You know, Conor is a legend regardless if you love him or if you hate him. So I was excited in that moment. But at the end of the day, before the card happened, like weeks in advance or even after the card happened, obviously, as we saw, what did play out in that main event, it's just not really a fight that I would have booked. If Conor's going to return, okay, fine. You know, it is still exciting, but I would probably prefer to see that. I know this would never happen, but I would prefer to see that as the main event of a fight night card or as a co-main event or something like that. I want the main event to be saved for the best fighting the best, especially for a pay-per-view card. That's what we pay the big bucks for. Well, I guess we're not paying for it, but you get my point. That's kind of the point of it, having these pay-per-view sort of cards. Remember when people were saying McGregor should have been the White House card? Yeah, people were saying that. And I guess if he was in the White House card, he would have been the main event. And if we saw a similar thing play out in the main event of the White House, which we saw in the main event of Conor's fight versus Max, that would have honestly been hilarious. It just would have been ridiculous. But yeah, happy he wasn't on the card based upon how the results played out. Absolutely. I completely agree with you. I've been saying that for a while, but yeah, I do not think Imavov beats Sean. I think Sean is a terrible stylistic matchup for exactly that reason. Imavov's good. He's really fast. He's got great striking for sure. But his issue is, as you said, he does need to reset. We've seen that a lot of times. And the reason for why the first time around Sean was able to win that fight is because Sean goes forward constantly and constantly was pinging the jab. He never gave Imavov a chance to reset. And also on top of that, Sean was coming in on short notice. I know a lot of people like to say, oh, Imavov was coming in on short notice. It was a short notice replacement, and Sean had the advantage because he has a weird style. I don't know if I necessarily agree. Sean was the guy that was actually coming in on short notice. Imavov was at the very least supposed to fight on that card. So I think the advantage was in the corner of Imavov, and Sean still did a good job at winning the fight, at kind of implementing the style, not giving Imavov a chance to reset, and he just overwhelmed Imavov and eventually gassed him out and won the fight. So yeah, I agree with you. I completely agree. DDP coming out of class, in my opinion. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that fight was pretty close. DDP versus Usman. Why Conor's not returning, bro? Yeah, he's got to return already, bro. It's insane. Paddy, who had more problem than the crowd from the Conor did, and more problem than the crowd that Conor did. What, like during the fight or during the press conference? I know he had definitely a pretty big pop, but even he said that Conor had the bigger pop, and I think Conor did have the bigger pop for sure, but it was close. Listen, Paddy definitely is a star. I don't want to say no. I just don't tend to think he's very good. But yeah, he definitely has star qualities. He definitely is fun. His walkout's really, really fun. His personality is fun and funny. And people like him, for sure. He has star qualities. I just don't think he's very good. That's my thing with him. Disagree with me, but I think Imavov's the worst matchup for Sean. Then Hamza rematch. Um, I can see Sean backing up with the chin up there. Always does and getting clips. Well, Sean actually doesn't move backward that frequently at all. Actually, he's always going forward. That's kind of the reason for why the Imavov fight's tough, or the Strickland fight is tough for Imavov. And they did fight before, and Strickland won pretty easily. So defensively, he's really good. He doesn't get caught that often. Now, Imavov's really fast. It's always possible that he lands a big shot, maybe a left hook or something like that. And he's fast and powerful, as I said. But Sean's really good defensively for one, but also for two, I do not think he's going to go back. Imavov's not a guy that's really forcing his opponents to go backwards a lot of the time. A lot of the time, he's actually on the back foot. Not always, but a lot of the time. And very rarely is Strickland ever on the back foot. He was on the back foot against Hamzat, but Hamzat's different with his wrestling threat. And then the later rounds, Strickland was on the front foot, and he was on the back foot in moments against DDP, but DDP just overwhelms with volume. That's why he was able to pressure Strickland back. But Imavov's not that guy. He's more of a technical guy that's fast, does great in the pocket, but isn't necessarily going to push Strickland back. Maybe in certain moments, but not for the majority of it, I don't think. But that scares me. I kind of just feel it down. I give zero hype. Yeah, no, listen, I agree. I think he has really good power. It does help that he's very fast as well. So, yeah, if he lands a clean shot against Strickland, sure, he can find a finish. There's no question about it. I just don't know how many opportunities he's going to have to land clean based upon the fact that he'll be going back. I think the majority of it, him not getting a chance to reset, as we were talking about before, and Strickland's defense. His defense on the feet is kind of insane. Ilia versus Paddy co-main event for the December card is fire. Yeah, if that does turn out to be the case, I agree. That'll be a banger of a fight, especially for a co-main event. Super, super fun. I think it has to be a 5-rounder. I would love to see it, and we'll see. Hopefully we get it. I would love to see Hamza rematch because I think Sean T goes in this time. A second round, broken shoulder. Yeah, I don't know. I personally don't want to see that fight. I did not think the first fight was very fun, and yeah, sure, I guess he was injured, fine. But I don't really care. If he wins the rematch, if he doesn't win the rematch, I don't really know. I don't really care. But I personally would much rather see the Imavov fight or see the DDP rematch for the third time than the Hamzat one. I don't think Hamzat deserves a shot. I don't want to see him get it, and yeah, that's my thought. Hamzat doesn't deserve a rematch. Yeah, completely agree. I don't think he deserves it. I don't want to see it. And it's not as if that first fight was so fun. It really wasn't. I know a lot of people like to say it was an interesting fight based upon the outcome, but I always like to say this. Just imagine if the fight wasn't between Strickland and Hamzat. Just imagine it was between two fighters you've never heard of. That's not going to be a fight that was that fun. It was a takedown and some control time in round one. In round two, Hamzat gassed out bad, and from there it was kind of just jab, teep kick, backhand. That's really it, and Hamzat was landing some good jabs and maybe occasional overhand rights. But it wasn't anything too crazy. The pace wasn't that high. The fight wasn't that fun. It's just not really a fight that I care to see again. Really ever, but if we did see it again, I definitely would prefer to see Hamzat win again before getting that shot. I'm a Hamzat fan, even though I don't think he should get a title shot before fighting. Yeah, 100%. He's got to get at least one win. I personally think he should just move up, fight Paulo Costa. If he gets that win, then he'll get a title shot at light heavyweight. But if he wants to stick at middleweight, if he really wants to fight Strickland, you got to get another win before getting that shot. Now, do I think it's impossible for Hamzat to get the next shot? No, I don't think it is. I think the UFC kind of does whatever when it comes to stars, and Hamzat absolutely is a star. Listen, believe me, the UFC wants Hamzat to be the champion right now over Strickland, even though Strickland has, a pretty good following as well. So I wouldn't be shocked if Hamzat got the next title shot, but I don't think he should, and I can't say I have much interest in seeing that rematch either. Strickland had to fight Costa before getting the DDP rematch. Yeah, that is true. Very good. Strickland is maybe the second best middleweight of all time. Matches to beat DDP. Yeah, I don't think he beats DDP, to be honest, in the third fight, but I will say this about Strickland. He's very, very good. He's definitely an all-time great middleweight. What he's been able to do is kind of insane. Being a two-time champion, beating Hamzat, a guy nobody thought would lose, at least this early on in his UFC career. So it is definitely pretty crazy to see what he's been able to do. An all-time great middleweight for sure, an all-time great fighter in general, which is kind of crazy to think about considering where Strickland was just a couple years back. A couple years back, the UFC used this guy as a decent fighter, but just a main event fighter at the Apex where nobody was really watching. So to see where he is now, fighting in multiple huge fights, getting the belt twice, is pretty incredible and shows how good he actually is. People generally going to pick Paddy to beat Ilia because he did better against Gaethje. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. People are probably going to say that, but I think that's absolutely ridiculous. If you think Paddy did better than Ilia against Gaethje, I'm sorry, you just don't really know what you're talking about. Yeah, did Paddy, like, did he have the ability to survive and Ilia didn't? Sure, he has a great chin, he's very durable, but that fight was not really that competitive at all. People may disagree, but it was a very clear 49-46 in my opinion. Just go back and rewatch the fight. Round 3 was the only round that Paddy won, but outside of that, he was getting butchered. And yeah, Ilia also took a lot of damage in his fight against Gaethje. He ended up getting finished, but at the very least, Ilia landed big shots early, and especially that body shot that he landed to Gaethje, dropping him, almost finding the finish. There was never a point in the Paddy fight where he got relatively close to finding a finish. That fight just wasn't really close. So people will say that. I just don't agree. I don't think Paddy did better against Gaethje than Ilia did. Better chin, sure, but better performance, no. Topuria would TKO Paddy with the body shots. Yeah, I think so as well. I think that would be a huge part of his game plan. He's got a really good body shot for one, but also for two, he's shorter than Paddy, so it'll make it a lot easier for him to rip in those shots to the body. So, yeah, I think it'll be a big part of his game plan, and I think he finds that liver eventually. I'm going to order me some donuts. Let's go. Don't tempt me, bro. I can't hear about any more sweets or anything. I'm not eating that bullshit. I'm on a cut, actually. Unofficial cut, but I'm trying to lose weight and doing well so far. Where are we at? People forget, man. Strickland on a broken arm, going to this half egg, didn't even fine. I actually thought that Strickland won it. The first fight, yeah, but they also did fight again. Like, if that was the only fight they had and we never saw what would have happened in the second fight, then okay. Maybe I would agree that Strickland maybe would have a chance to beat DDP in the rematch, but we saw the rematch. Into the second DDP fight? Okay, never mind. I read that wrong. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I just think stylistically, it's just not the best fight in the world for Strickland in the sense that he doesn't have a great ability to counter. And when you fight Dricus, you have to counter. He's going to go forward a lot of the time. He's going to throw wild shots. But the best way to beat this guy is to use footwork, get out of the way, and land a big counter hand right or a big counter hand left. But Strickland just does not have the ability at all to counter. And that's his biggest issue. The first fight was close. Yeah, he was injured and had staph or whatever. He had neurovirus and all this bullshit. I don't know. I'm not saying he's lying, but it's just kind of funny how all this stuff comes out after the fact. But even if that was true, which probably it was, that he had all those issues going into the second fight, I still think Dricus would win in a third fight if it happened. Damn near finishes Gaethje numerous times. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't really get that thought that Paddy did better than Ilia. It's just not true. Sean went from the game to champ. Wow. It is. It honestly is insane. It is insane to see where he is at this point compared to where he was not too long ago. I don't understand why people call Paddy versus Gaethje a good fight. It was just Paddy eating punches. Completely agree, John. Completely agree. It's pure racism bias. Ilia lost his last fight. Paddy's on the SD. So Paddy looks better. Yeah, you are right for sure, Owen. 100% you're right. Now I will say this: I don't know if we're gonna get this lucky. I think the bookies are pretty sharp to this. But listen, if you give me Ilia versus Paddy and Ilia is sub -200, so let's say he's a -170, or let's say it's a pick'em even or something like that, brother, I'm like double max betting Ilia Topuria if that were to happen. Please give me that line. I would really love it, but I don't know if we're going to see that. Usually the bookies are sharp to it. Ricky, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Top Toro is a bum of a little thing, yeah? All right. I think he's great. Yo, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Do you know... no, I don't know him. Paddy look like a limb is honor against the gauge. Openings everywhere. Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. And it's kind of funny looking in retrospect. when Paddy was pressured against the cage, yeah, he didn't know what to do. He got pieced up with big shots, got dropped multiple times. But it's very funny because Paddy obviously had a huge edge in terms of the grappling. So there was a very simple thing he could have done. MMA Chad did say this, and I agree with him. Every time Paddy got his back alongside the cage, he could have just pulled guard in that moment or just fell to his back. Gaethje probably would not have followed him down to the ground, and he could have avoided all that unnecessary damage that he took in those moments, which kind of just shows like where his fight IQ is at in those moments, I guess, or maybe he's just trying to prove a point or whatever. But it wasn't the most smart thing in the world to do. It is kind of funny. Did you see on the company concerns last week? Yeah, there you go. I do have to get another haircut soon, though. You are right on that. Really think Umval could beat TP for that exact reason. He's a good counter striker. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think that's an interesting one because on one hand, you are right. The counter-striking would be there for Imavov against DDP, and DDP is quite open in a lot of moments. But he does have a really good chin. Imavov is fast and does hit hard. So the counters would be there. I agree with you. But the counter argument to that is two things. For one, Dricus is going to grind out it sounds really weird. But he's going to, force his way. All right, I'm saying like weird stuff, very sus stuff. Anyways, he's going to go forward and throw a lot of shots and try to gas out his opponents. I'll say that. And Imavov doesn't tend to have the best gas in the world, so that's a counter argument for one. But also for two, a similar reason for why Strickland was able to continuously ping the jab and not allow Imavov to reset. I think Dricus could do a very similar thing while also mixing in takedowns on top of that to just not allow Imavov to get going. So we'll see. We'll see. But it is an interesting thought. The champion is supposed to. That's a great line. Honestly, I think that turned him into a star. To be honest, there you go. You almost just trust the finish the power event though. You almost just trust the EV5 finish event though. People forget, man. Man. Yeah, it's true. That's true. I guess, but as I said, the cardio aspect of it all in terms of the Khamzat fight against Strickus, as I said at the time, like Khamzat's cardio is not great. It's just he was able to find such easy takedowns without even working against Strickus. That's why he was able to last the entire time. And yeah, I know Dricus wasn't able to find a finish against Kamaru Usman, but I think it's more of Kamaru Usman's chin being insane as compared to Dricus just having no finishing upside. He's gotten a lot of finishes throughout his career. I don't know what the fuck I was saying. That was insanely sus. I don't know why I was saying that, but you guys get what I was trying to say. Oh, man. Fucking hell. Yo, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. How are you? People act like picking DDP to beat Khamzat Chimaev was a bad pick. Even picking DDP was picking from the finish. Damn near got it. That was the most DDP fight of all time. Just getting dominated for the most part, not having much success, and then almost finding the finish in the final minutes of round 5. The most DDP thing of all time. It's very, very funny. Yeah, I mean, listen, he had no takedown defense in that fight. He didn't even make Khamzat work. It was not a good performance, but it would have been absolutely hilarious if he found that finish at the very end of the fight, and it would have been great for the sport, I think, if he did that. Who is your favorite fighter? There's a lot of guys I like. I probably would say my favorite fighter is Jean Silva. Jean Silva is probably my favorite guy. Either Jean or Ilia. I'd love to see Pyfer versus DDP. That could be another good one for sure. I think that could be pretty fun. But as I said, if it were up to me, I would actually give DDP the next title shot against Sean. 2 wins over the champ. And he beat, Kamaru Usman pretty easily. I know Imavov deserves the next shot, but the UFC hates him. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just, skipped him again and gave it to DDP or gave it to someone else. But if DDP guaranteed was not getting the title shot, then yeah, the Pyfer fight could make sense. I think even a fight between him and G-Rod possibly makes sense. Not as much, but stylistically, it's a great fight for DDP. So I probably would be pushing for the RoboCop fight as compared to the Joe Pyfer fight. But either one, I do think he wins. TDP some but Joe has that one and done power. He does. And maybe this is a foolish way of thinking, but until proven otherwise, I just don't know if Drickus can get knocked out. He takes ginormous shots and nothing happens. It's insane. He also runs into ginormous shots and nothing happens. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, and it is possible that Joe lands a big shot and knocks him out. But until proven otherwise, I just don't know. I don't know if he can get knocked out physically. But I also thought that for Kamaru Usman, and eventually he did get knocked out cold. But it was the perfect shot to find that knockout against Leon. Do you want to sign me off for the title shot? Like, you can't find. You've always wanted to literally 0-5. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he has no hype. He definitely has no hype. So yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I just think what I would personally prefer to do is just have the guy that deserves the title shot most get the title shot. I think you set a standard of what the sport should be, not picking favorites, not picking the popular guy. I want to see whoever deserves a shot, they should get it. If Evloev deserves the next shot against Volk, he should get it, which now he's getting, but he deserved it even previous to that. If Umar deserves a shot against Jan, he should get it, even though I don't want to see that fight. He should get it. I'm not saying he does. But that's kind of my point. Like, I want to see the guys who deserve it most get rewarded with a title shot. Let's go. DDP hasn't fought. DDP hasn't fought big KO punchers though. Yeah, that's true. That is fair enough. That juicy water. Drickus' moment was around the range, straight battering that boy. He definitely was. He was battering him. It wasn't very close. My favorite moment of that fight between Drickus and DDP, or Drickus and DDP, between Drickus and Usman was when Drickus landed a head kick and Kamaru Usman was complaining to the ref. I don't know what he was complaining about, but DDP had a hilarious quote after the fact. He was like, once I landed that head kick and Usman was complaining to the ref, I knew he was rocked. It's pretty funny, actually. Kenny Okoye coming like crazy after DDP beat the crap out of Usman. He thought Usman was going to win that fight. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Some people were thinking that just because DDP did not show great ability to stuff takedowns against Khamzat, but there's such a big difference between Khamzat and Kamaru Usman, especially this version of Kamaru Usman. So I always thought that was quite ridiculous. The line was a lot closer than it should have been. I think DDP was like a minus 170 or something like that. So I thought it was crazy. Profited nicely off of that one, but yeah, all right. I mean, yeah, interesting. I can't say I'm surprised that Kenny did pick Usman, but it's funny. It's funny in retrospect. Fight between Drickus and DDP. That would be a banger, actually. I would love to see that fight between Drickus and DDP. The big thing getting exposed by the enemy was that Usman cheated in our career. I did think there was one groin shot in that fight that was not a groin shot or an eye poke, whatever it was. I don't remember. But there was some foul that wasn't a foul. And we saw a similar thing in Usman's fight against Colby Covington where he said he got groin shotted when he actually didn't. So, yeah, Usman likes to take those kind of breaks in those moments, even if he doesn't get fouled. There's so many times we've seen that with Kamaru Usman. It doesn't take away from how great he was. He definitely was very good, but he has that, tendency to do that for sure. Kenny Cohen says, hey, to delete his channel if Sean... I love when people say that kind of a thing. I would never say that because, listen, anything could happen in the sport. And especially for a fight like Sean against Khamzat, Sean absolutely had a chance to win that fight going in. And I've said that a lot as well going into the fight. So that's a crazy fight to say that for. But in general, it's kind of funny when people say that kind of a thing if they don't actually mean it. It's like, what's the point? You're just trying to get publicity, I guess, or trying to clip farm or whatever. But if you're not actually going to go through with it, then, like, I don't know. I know he's just trying to get views and whatever, but it's just kind of dumb. Usman showed off all Brady, then he would have probably got a dollar shot. It's a style to beat. Sorry. Yeah, I do have to hop off stream soon. Sorry. But yeah, I think he should have fought Brady. Brady stylistically is a pretty good fight for Kamaru Usman for sure. But yeah, probably should have. But now it is too late. Too late now. I agree. Don't see Brady getting him down. Absolutely not. He's like, I can almost guarantee he wouldn't get Kamaru down. And on the feet, I mean, Usman's super slow at this point. His striking is just not even that good anymore, even compared to what it was a little bit ago. He's not comfortable with striking, but he does have a good jab still, and he does have decent power as well. So, yeah, it would have been an interesting fight at the very least, stylistically. Not a good one for Brady. Prime Usman absolutely demolishes Sean Brady. Such a bad stylistic matchup. But even at this point, definitely not the easiest thing either. Nope, not yet. Or not yet, not ever. Joe's reaction to Shooken that was probably you thought it was a robbery? It's pretty clear Strickland won the fight. But it was close. It was closer than I thought it would be. But pretty clear that Strickland won it. For show. But anyways, fellas, I think I'm going to hop off stream at this point. I guess before I go, I do want to make a quick mention. If you are enjoying the stream and want to support your boy, hit that join button down below for best bets for every single card, members-only live streams every single Friday, members-only shout-outs in each one of my videos alongside with discounted merch as well, as I'm wearing here. Part of the new drop, actually. We do have a new drop coming up relatively soon, September 1st, just to tell you guys right now, which I'm very excited about. If you want to follow along, check out our Instagram, which the link will be in the description as well. And for the memberships, they just start at 99 cents. I'll read this quickly, and I'll hop off stream. Troy looks like I have a heart attack. Oh, man. It just zoomed in. It zooms in crazy when I do that. There you go. But yeah, it's just a crop of my normal stream. But anyways, fellas, I appreciate you boys for joining the stream. I will be streaming again tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for the Dana White Contender stream. But until then, I'll see you fellas in the next one. Peace out, boys.